name is Leila Kittu. I am a marine biologist by profession. Marine biology is quite diverse, I would say. It cannot be defined by one single thing, but basically it's the science that has to do with everything that is happening in the ocean and the animals that live within the ocean and how they survive there in relation to the environment that they are in. The field that I work in directly, which is looking at the nitrogen cycle and the organisms that I'm investigating, so nitrogen fixes, have a little bit to do with climate change, because one of the things that would affect these organisms is how temperatures, for example, will change in the future and how this would affect their activity. What I do specifically, biogeochemistry, I think it will help us to understand the feedbacks in the system. So, for example, what do we expect when we have low nitrogen supply, low nutrient supply in the system? Do we expect that there would not be enough food for phytoplankton to survive on? And that means that the fixation of carbon, which takes CO2 from the atmosphere, would also be affected in the long run. So everything is connected. And I think my research field and what I do is just a small piece of that puzzle to be able to understand the system in its entirety. One of the people who would say I wanted to be a marine biologist. I actually did not know what I wanted to be growing up. I don't remember ever feeling, connected to one part of society in terms of a profession. But when I was, I would say about 15, this is when I realized I want to do something with the environment. And for me, my environment meant the ocean, because this is the one thing that I grew up around. It was already a given that the ocean would be the first thing in mind. The ocean it's 70% of the earth, and anywhere, in most parts of the world where you would go, you will be connected with the ocean. The internationality of the sea, I think, makes it a way that everybody can access it, I think. And I think this is why we should all protect it. Traveling is a big part of the work that you do. But also there is a lot of office work. Once you collect your data, you have to come back into the lab and analyze your samples to try and see what do I have in this water, and to try and understand the processes that you're researching. And then, of course, there's a lot of computer work. So you have to sit down and look at the data after that and try to make sense of what you're researching about, because that's the whole point. You don't know what it is, but the data is going to kind of tell you what is there. You don't come out of your bachelor's knowing these things. They sort of happen along the way, and so it's another additional, for me, an attractive thing of the field that I work in is that there's always something that you're learning, because it's so diverse in what is involved. Study for my master's, and it was, of course, a very foreign thing for me to move from my home country, which is Kenya, to a different country, which is in Germany, because the cultures are very different. The way of life in general is very, very different. But I'm also a person who likes to see new things and to interact with different people. So for me, it was a welcome change that I took very close to me, moving here. And it took a little bit of time to adapt to the system, to the language, of course. I'm still not very good at, perfect at German, but I get by with the little that I know in the language. And so it becomes easier over time as you try to integrate into the system and into the society and, become part of it in a way, but still not forgetting who you are and where you're from. Look at the ocean, I'm always amazed because I'm like, it's so huge. It's everywhere. And there's just this curiosity that I would like to know what's going on in the water, what's happening in the water, who lives there in the water. And so my motivation comes from curiosity, I would say. And probably this is also why I chose research, I always want to know.